The voices in my ears from production have said that we are ready for the next run, so it's time to take it into a whole new realm of music with LS, Booty Biscuit, and Daiki with Sound Voltex Exceed Gear. Let's rock!
Alright, I'll introduce myself first. I'm Ellie. I'll be running Sound Voltex Exceed Gear for all of you. It'll be about an hour showcase, just going from some of the easiest content to some of the hardest that this game has to offer. And got two wonderful commentators with me, Spoody and Daiki, if you want to introduce yourselves.
Hello, I am Spoody. I also play this game at roughly the same level as Ellie. Kind of run away from the unskill rating a little bit, but I'm trying to catch him.
Daiki. I also play this game. I've been playing, I think, much more often and have gained a little more skill, but I think we're all generally around the same skill level-ish.
Yep. Alright, awesome. That said, I'm going to just need like 10 seconds to switch over to a different Discord client, just so the game performs as well as it can. And the timer will start once I hit start for the first song, which will be Oriental Lost. So just like 10 seconds.
Yep, so while Ellie's doing that, just a quick rundown of what you're about to see. We're going to start with Oriental Blossom Novice, which is rated a 5 on a 20-point scale. We will be working our way up to that 20 maximum later on. But for now, we're going to be starting low, just to kind of give you guys an introduction and kind of some insight into how the game works. That maybe as we work our way up, things get more complicated, you still can kind of have a rough idea, just generally kind of follow along what's going on.
I believe that Ellie will be turning their speed mode down as well. Most players play with a very high rate of scroll speed, so the notes come very fast, so that they're able to parse dense sections of notes. However, I guess just ease everyone in, because not everyone here, I believe, plays rhythm games regularly or Sound Voltex. Looks like we are going now. Yep, there goes the speed mod. So that you can very easily see all the notes coming in. So, welcome to Sound Voltex. To give that quick primer, like many other rhythm games, in Sound Voltex you have to hit buttons or twist knobs when they reach the bottom of the playfield on that little orange glowing line. So we have 4 white square buttons, which we call the A, B, C, and D buttons. We also have the orange FX buttons. They're those rectangles underneath. We call them the FXL and FXR buttons. And finally, we have those knobs that correspond with the volume lasers on the left and right. The left is the blue knob, and the right is the red knob. So R for right is how many people kind of remember that. And so, as you can see, each of these buttons can be either a long note, a hold, or a single button, a chip note. Let's see, what else? There's also the lasers in general, which you can kind of hear making little modifications to the song. They kind of add like effects on top of the song, especially when there are the horizontal lasers like that, which can also rotate the playfield 360 degrees. And also the FX holds will apply some modulations to the song, which also can change the rhythms that occur in the song, which can also add extra notes to the song as well.
So a quick general note on the game. The general goal is to just hit notes. The more you hit notes, the more that gauge on the right goes up, and if you miss notes, it'll go down. Right now, we're just using what is the default life gauge, the kind of easier one that most players will start out on, called effective rate. It's simple. It starts at 0, and by the end of the song, you need to be above 70% to clear the chart. And here we have, starting off strong, we've got a perfect ultimate chain. Wouldn't expect anything less at this level. This being kind of our tutorial song for you guys. Songs are scored out of a maximum possible 10 million points, which you get by getting criticals or S criticals on every note. and every near or error will every near is worth half of the maximum value for a note, and every error will be worth no points. So we're hoping to see as many criticals and aspirals as we can. Quick note about timing windows. So only the short chip notes are timed strictly. You can see the little millisecond indicator about midway up the playfield for every chip note, with like plus or minus milliseconds indicating whether a note was hit early or late. So I believe S crits are 21 milliseconds or better, and crits in general I think are like 42, if I'm remembering correctly. So in order to get a critical on a chip note, it's about like I think that would amount to like a 4 or 5 frame window or so. I haven't done the math. Whereas an S crit is much tighter. It's like about a 2 or 3 frame window for most. Maybe if you're looking for speedrun metrics. Anyway, we're on the second song now, which we're jumping up the difficulty a bit, so we're going to be seeing a lot of simultaneous mechanics here. Like in the first song, it was just pretty much one button at a time, just one laser at a time. We're going to be seeing a lot of combining here, like that blue laser with the R hold, or this pink laser with the L button, with the L chips and L holds. And that's ultimately where a lot of the difficulty in Sound Voltex comes from. Is individually the mechanics are pretty simple. You're turning a knob, you're pushing a button. It gets complicated when you have to do multiple of them all at once. So we've also turned on the excessive gauge as well, the harder life bar. Unlike the effective life bar, this starts at 100% and lowers every time you miss a note. If it ever hits 0, then you fail the track. That said, we are playing in a mode that combines both the excessive and effective. There's no risk of outright failing songs, at least not until the end of the showcase. If the gauge ever empties out, it'll just switch over to the easier life bar. And we've got another perfect ultimate chain.
The difficulty scale, but I would argue that it's not halfway up the actual execution difficulty scale.
No, yeah, there's definitely quite a bit. It ramps up pretty harshly as you get up to the top. I think it's worth mentioning that Ellie has actually perfect ultimate chained every chart up through all of the 14s in the entire game. It was quite a grind fest for him, but
that is filthy, but also extremely impressive.
Yeah, which it combined, that's literally like thousands of charts. So, and he's working on the 15s. I know he's got full combos on all the 15s, but it's a huge undertaking, and I have mad respect for him. So we're on to the third song here, Deleted Motion, which is rated at a 13.
Ellie's hands, if you're keeping a close eye on the hand cam, do multiple different things at once, and also jump around the controllers, especially because the knobs start coming intermingled with the notes and at much faster rates. So also, there was a bunch of talk in chat. Just to clarify, the knobs, while some of them look more steep, like that you need to turn them faster and whatnot, as long as you are turning the knob in any capacity in the correct direction, it should count as being hit, and they don't actually have any accuracy values. It is a simple binary hit or a miss. So you don't have to do too much. And here we have an example of some docked lasers where you turn it and then you leave it. You take your hands back off the knobs, hit some notes, do some other stuff. And so that's a whole nother component of kind of coordination that, of course, ramps up as we go through all the difficulties.
Yeah, and it especially gets complicated as, most of the charts you're seeing so far are a little bit older, and so, usually, when a laser on the right knob comes up, it starts on the right side of the play field, and the left knobs start on the left side. But as we get to newer charts and more difficult charts, that is a rule that is not respected at all. Lasers can start or end anywhere, and it can get very complicated and difficult to interpret correctly.
Just what you notes, kind of the white notes, the white chip notes, They're pretty simple. They're usually just staircases or back and forth between multiple columns. And another piece. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, Ellie really showing off the consistent timing they have on the easier charts, where the execution is a little bit less of a daunting task. You know, we're off to a strong start here.
It's fine. We can have 10 million points, you know, as a treat.
Yeah. I mean, that is the max. But we are moving up. Going into Infinite Overdrive, which is a 15, which is where the difficulty definitely starts. I think this is one of the first kind of small walls of difficulty. I think 16 is the actual first real big wall, but 15 is definitely a stopping point for newer rhythm game players. If you notice, Ellie has been turning up their speed mod a little bit so that the notes are scrolling a little bit faster for better parsing.
Yeah, with faster scrolling means the notes are a little bit spaced out, which means they're a little bit easier to interpret. Where if you kept the notes scrolling slow, it'd just be like an incomprehensible block of solid notes.
I would recommend watching the hand cam soon. There are these things called crossovers, where your hands get out of the standard positioning of just being on the left and the right.
Yeah,
and
right
you have
here
to reach
we're gonna see it.
across and do some weird things to hit the notes properly.
Yeah, you'll see like notes that are on the left side of the controller, but then the left knob comes up. So the expected execution there is to bring your right hand over across the other hand to turn the knob.
The time-honored tradition of contortionism in rhythm gaming. Love it.
Exactly. And yeah, this is kind of it's a little bit slower than some other charts that utilize crossovers. So and we're gonna see a lot of one-handed like knob and button action here, kind of wiggling it back and forth.
This is one of the things that looks really scary because both of the lasers are on, but you can actually just ignore the one laser that is completely straight.
Yeah, that pink laser, as long as it's
a distraction.
started in place, so you can just ignore it until it starts moving again.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of crossovers in this part as well as non-standard positions where, oh my gosh, that part is a lot of movement.
Yeah, and see, like these patterns in particular really force a crossover because of the you've got to hit like the A and the R and hold the R and then turn the right knob. There's really not a good way to hit that doesn't involve a cross. We did unfortunately miss out on the perfect ultimate chain on that one due to some early error hits. So something to note, the game doesn't let you just mash all the buttons really hard, really fast and hit everything. Like the timing windows actually have an early error detection so that if you hit a note well before it's supposed to come up, it'll just give you an error for it. So you can't just mash, you have to be parsing the patterns and hitting them and timing them well. And sometimes it's easy to accidentally just like raise a button an extra time and trip one of those early errors. So got to be very coordinated and in focus, making sure all your motions are deliberate.
Now we are in the 16s, and you can already kind of see the patterning is starting to ramp up. And also, in my opinion, it starts like introducing one of the most difficult concepts, especially at a high level, which is chording, where you have one hand that hits two notes at once, but when their two notes are in the B and C, the middle two columns, that's also another form of chording. But I guess most people would instinctively hit it with your left and right hand, with like your pointer finger in the middle. However, in most high-level charts, it is so much better to hit that with only one hand, just because of the speed and actually the intention of the chart writers.
Yeah, your brain says, oh, those keys are the furthest away from everything else. I should use each hand. No, you've fallen right into their trap.
Exactly.
This chart's got a really fun little thing coming up. There's going to be some long jacks, which we're going to see Ellie alternate hands on the same button to hit those. They're coming up pretty soon here. Right here. It's, yeah, alternating your hands for that same button is one of the best ways, one of the most reliable ways to hit it. We might see later on some other charts of jacks where he actually employs a different technique. You can also just use the same hand and like alternate fingers, just like kind of walk your index and middle on it. There's a few ways to go about it, but it's a fun little thing that's kind of unique at this difficulty level, honestly. There's not a lot of charts at the 16 level that have jacks like that.
It's very isolated too. Like, it gives you a little bit of breathing room before and after, so you can get into position before doing other things. So it's simplistic in that way. And in harder charts, it just throws them at you regardless of whether there's like a very complex button pattern before and after, which... Oh no!
Oh, missing the last laser, turning it the wrong way.
Classic.
Yeah, very easy mistake to make, especially as we get into higher levels.
Yeah, there are certain charts in higher levels that have like the red laser riding the left side and the blue laser at the same time riding the right side, which literally you have to flip your perception backwards, and it's incredibly challenging when you get to those points.
And as Kat mentions, many of these techniques are like relevant to actual piano playing. You know, you kind of think to yourself, oh, he's pianoing his hands across in certain ways to get from button to button. But especially with the, hitting the same key repeatedly, that is literally how one would do it with a piano. So
there's also like turns and everything that you use with the piano fingering, specific things like that.
After missing that last knob turn on the last chart, we don't have to worry about that here, because this is Freaky Freak Gravity 17. It's a very unique chart. There's it is one of, I think, 3 charts in the maximum difficulty slot for a song that does not use the knobs at all. We are just going to be I love that little walking technique there.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is going to be only buttons, and we're going to see that just because a chart doesn't have buttons doesn't mean it's easier. It really compensates for the lack of knobs by ramping up the complexity in the buttons. We're going to see lots of complicated hold patterns. We're going to see a lot of long continuous 16th runs and layering of the different instrumental tracks. Like, we'll see like some 16th runs on following the synths on the ABCD with notes on the L and R following percussion, like complex layering like that. That's really hard to keep up with here.
In addition, if you notice for some of the double FX buttons and other things, the camera perspective actually also changes. Like, here we got a nice little tilt to the side just to add to the... Oh, there we go, the other way. Just to add to like the kind of whole experience of Sound Voltex. So it's not ever a static thing, and I think they do a really good job of both charting and all these perspective changes to make it feel very dynamic. And yeah, all of those, your hand positioning, and just everything that you have to do in this game.
Yeah, this section right here can be pretty hard to coordinate for newer players, where it's like you're doing a 16th note run on the ABCD, but you're having to tap on the downbeats on the LRs. We're still holding a UC. Are we about to UC this here? Yeah, that's a UC on Freaky Freak.
Amazing.
That's a very impressive feat. That's a very difficult chart.
One of the things that I've noticed is somebody who, even at GDQs, hasn't really gotten to get time in on this game in particular, but has played a lot of stuff like, from Guitar Heroes to Guitar Freaks to Jubeat. Like, I appreciate just how much they can make the game feel like you're really feeling the rhythm with this few number of lanes compared to a lot of other games. The charting is really on point.
Seeing more in for this game. Even pushing the envelope with what they do, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and we will see towards the end of the showcase, if we have the time, what some of the newest things they've done to push the difficulty curve are.
This song is a lot more of those chords. You can already see it, one hand is going from one side, hitting the DC chord with the right hand, going to the BC columns, going to the AB columns. And those do get very fast in higher difficulties. There are some quicker ones at the end of this song too.
So we've got some nice little one-handed sections here where we're just kind of switching between the lasers and switching which hand we use to keep hitting the 8th note button.
These chord sweeps that we're talking about. So if you watch the hand cam, you can see Ellie's two hands doing different things, basically deciding when he wants to hit that BC with which hand. And it's a very quick decision. You just kind of have to innately know how comfy you are with hitting that stuff. And even more faster chord stuff right here.
And yeah, again, mixing the chords in with the LNR, which for newer players who are just learning to read the patterns, that can be a little bit tricky when there's an L and then an AD, because those notes are like in the same column. You gotta parse when it's two separate little white lines versus one solid orange.
There's a few of them. Oh, and then off to the effects too. Whoa.
And also those, I guess they're kind of, they look like 4-note chords, but it's just an FX taking up the other 2 lines. And that one-handed trill that you have to execute while turning a laser on both of the FX.
And yeah, if it's around this point that we started to lose a lot of you in terms of being able to follow what's going on the screen, don't worry. 17 is probably one of the hardest barriers to break when you're first experiencing this game. Like, I spent so long being stuck on 16s before I really got the 17s. And we've got one more 17 to a song you guys will probably know. And this one's got so much fun, so many fun little references to the source material. In fact,
throw up those dance
right
emotes.
At the start.
It's time.
Right at the start of the song, the very first thing the chart does, you might recognize a little something. Yeah, let's get some activity in chat and boost the ratings a little bit. Yeah, that's if you remember the background to the Metaton fight with that ratings graph, that opening is literally just that ratings graph recreated as a Sound Voltex chart.
And now it's time for the quiz. Question 1: how many UCs have been had so far during the showcase?
No, I haven't been counting.
Uh-oh. Aha! Correct answer.
But PUCs are a subset of UC. They even have the UC in the name. Oh yeah. Little bit more references to the Metaton fight there with those solid that's the reference to the 2-lane with the bombs and the blocks right there. And we're also going to see some feet later.
There are going to be some legs. Also, if you notice in the background, that heart that's moving around actually corresponds to what Ellie is turning with the knobs as well. Right, there are those feet, the legs. They're a little bit wide because the speed mod or the scrolling speed is a little high, but those are some thick legs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'll note that whenever the blue laser gets turned, the heart will move horizontally, and whenever the pink laser gets turned, the heart will move vertically. It's a cute little touch. They really went all out when they crossed over the Undertale songs and Sound Voltex to just make them something special.
Time for if there's anything else.
Certainly, we did have a couple of donations come in recently. Crumbs donates $20 to Gate and simply said less than 3. They put that toward the brand rights coloring scheme for the Spin Rhythm XD showcase later, and also the Pac-Land whole dang game, also known as Pac-Land Pro, for later on today.
Dang, nice UC, pretty close to a PUC. Is that like 3 or 4 nears? 4. Yeah, that's really solid. Wow, that's a plus 35k PB for LA. That's a ridiculous score.
There are a few more, but I'm happy to wait. We are witnessing greatness right now, and I wouldn't want to take away from that.
Well, we are going to keep up the Toby Fox wave and move on to the world revolving. You'll see a couple little references to the Jevil fight here as well.
Toby Fox wave is definitely one of my favorite genres.
Oh, and this is also our first 18. You'll probably notice a little bit of a jump up in difficulty here.
Ellie has fully turned their speed mod up as well, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, the notes might be scrolling a little fast for comfort for for the majority of viewers, but that's, again, something that's kind of necessary to parse this stuff that gets really dense.
Yeah, like we're seeing, like we just saw there, something 18s really like to do is like really complex runs while holding a button, or these like fast one-handed 16th note trills. very fast switching between the buttons and the knobs.
The hand moving around.
Yeah, it can be very hard to keep up with at this level. Yeah, this was actually the first, I believe, the first of all of the like Undertale and Deltarune songs that got added to Voltex. We actually got this one well ahead of all the other Undertale tracks, and it caught all of us off guard to be like, just suddenly one day there's an update announcement and Deltarune music's in the game. Very pleasant surprise.
Here, they have the very curvy lasers, so they have basically much more granularity in how they turn, so it just looks more aesthetically pleasing. In previous charts, they would be very kind of choppy curves, like kind of approximated polygons, but now you can see they're actually very curvy.
And something we saw like about 10 seconds back that the charts love to employ at this level is kind of fake out lasers, where just like a laser will like a pink laser will show up, but it's just a straight line in the midst of a whole bunch of other notes, just to kind of make you think maybe you have to put your hand on the right knob, but you don't. So you really got to pay attention and make sure you're parsing everything accurately.
988, that's so fantastic for world revolving, because that's a harder 18 actually, I think.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty tough one. Speaking of tough 18s, we've got another one that's tough for a very different, silly reason.
Yeah, speaking of revolving 18.
Yeah, speaking of the world revolving, Valisneria is a very, what I'd say, experimental chart. It's something they really haven't done again.
Oh boy.
Chat, any
don't
other
forget
chart.
to stand up, stretch, hydrate. Don't want this to turn your stomach.
Flower has it.
Yeah, but Flower's like a repeating pattern, whereas this is, it's pretty much something you have to memorize.
Yeah, the few cases where usually we would say, no, you don't actually memorize charts. I would be impressive if we could memorize charts. But usually it's just parsing what notes are coming at you very quickly. You just get good at that. This is something you need to memorize.
Yeah, this is a very old chart when it was kind of the Wild West of chart design for the game, and the people writing the note patterns were just kind of trying a whole bunch of different things and seeing what would stick. So remember how we pointed out that sometimes when there's a laser slam, it makes the whole playfield turn? Well, and yeah, usually when it does it, there's no notes you have to hit, or it's just like a repeating pattern, like you're just hitting the same button repeatedly. There's actually like a moving button pattern during the spins. Mercifully, it's the same. It's like one of two patterns every time in the song, but it's still a pattern you pretty much have to learn and memorize to really play this chart well.
So, tough jacking section of jackhammer. We call them jacks for short.
Yeah,
but,
which
like, you have to, decide like which hand to hit those with. Decide if you want to alternate them. Make sure you're hitting everything else around it and all of that. It's a lot.
Since it's alternating between the jacks and lasers, it makes the strategy we noted back on Onigiri of alternating hands on the jacks a lot less viable, because then you're having to send one hand back and forth between the buttons and the knobs really fast. So a lot of players will just try and mash it really fast 3 times, which is what we saw Ellie doing there. Dropped a couple of them doing that, unfortunately.
Also, a note about these spins, if you decide to just not hit that horizontal laser slam that causes the spin, the playfield just doesn't spin. It's like a very cheesy way to get around it. Of course, you're guaranteed to get some misses because of that, but if you really don't want that spin, you can choose to avoid it.
Yeah, I actually remember Ellie in the day talking to me about how Flower, Heavenly 19, which has a spin with a lot of notes, he was trying to show the chart off to his friends, and he couldn't do it when it was new because everyone was deliberately skipping the slam that caused the spin so that they could read the notes during the spin.
And here I am.
No one wanted to deal with that.
I'm thinking, okay, so if I'm new to this game and I want to play that song, I just need to get like a VESA-mounted monitor and then hook the monitor arm up to a Raspberry Pi
And
that has spins programmed into it. Exactly.
PT joke of having a projector and rotating that projector when
Yes,
the whole
there you
screen
go. That would be much more elegant, all
Alright.
things considered.
So here we have
Beast
Space
Beast.
Bomb, maximum 18, which is our obligatory Hiroyasu Matsudo chart, which Hiroyasu Matsudo charts love their lasers.
Yeah. So this chart has 172 chip notes. Right now, Ellie's chain is about 300 for context. And yeah, you'll see a lot of lasers.
Yeah, which again, reminder, it's not nearly as impossible as it looks, because again, you only need to just make sure you're turning the lasers the correct direction. There's no like checks for whether you're turning the knob fast or slow. It's just a directional check. That said, this chart is still really hard to follow.
Especially when all the chip notes do start very slow. Oh, here's some crossovers. If you watch Handcam, you'll see the frantic back and forth they need to do while hitting the FX notes. And also, the micro decisions that you have to make every single time, like one of those chip chords comes up every so often. Like, your two hands are so anchored on the knobs that you need to, like, decide which hand to take off to actually hit the chip notes.
Yeah,
And
we see
also-
lots of holds here, forcing crossovers again.
I think we just got past the section, but there was one more like really funny pattern that's used a lot in these kind of laser charts, where one laser just moves slowly towards one direction and the other laser does a lot of other funky stuff. So it's like a lot of coordination, kind of like rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time, where you have to really figure out how you're moving your hands.
And yeah, it just to illustrate how hard it was, you know, Daiki almost said rubbing your stomach. But
Yeah.
Rubbing your stomach and hatting your sped. Absolutely. Look, words are hard.
Wow, that's a score.
He's beginning to believe.
Ellie is on a tear right now. Yeah, only 15 dropped laser takes on that is very, very good. That is an extremely tough knob-based 18. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to the 18s, and we are going to get into the scary territory. We're going to start off with Bayonex, which very heavy contrast to what we just saw. Bayonex is going to have very minimal knobs. And the button pattern, you'd think there's lots of complex button patterns. No, this chart actually has very simple button patterns, but you may notice that BPM number up there, the beats per minute value, is a blistering 262. Which, reminder, you know, that's the quarter note tempo, and we're seeing these 16th note drills here. So those I just want to, you know, run the math by. 262 beats per minute is 4.36 beats per second, and with 16th notes you quadruple that. Those 16th drills are 17 and a half notes a second.
Yeah, no, distributing 17 and a half notes a second across your brain is a big ask.
These two-column that made those drills. You'll see Ellie's hands move actually across the controller to make sure that he's hitting them with both hands instead of trying to do a one-handed movement or drill on them, because that it's a little bit too fast for just one-handing.
Hitting one-hand trills like that at that speed is really challenging. If you can use both hands, it's best to do so. We're gonna see some pretty fast jacks on the LR buttons coming up here. Yeah, we even see that he like kind of crosses over his left hand to hit that BC, so that he doesn't have to move his right hand off of that LR. You know, don't ruin that rhythm. Complex chord runs here as we come finish with this chart, where it's gonna get
Famous
even
endings
faster.
too. The famous endings with the ultra long drills. Here we go.
Yeah, it's a really fast chord drill.
Excessive bar. I think we're good though. Fast.
Ooh, nice triple A plus. Yeah, that's a good run on that.
980 on this.
Honestly, this is getting so intense that even my reading comprehension is being affected. I saw somebody in chat, they say we in maniacal hardstyle territory, and I read that as maniacal hairstyle territory. I'm like, yeah, that kind of seems right.
I mean, yeah, that too.
This blows your hair back.
All right, so next up we've got Tutorial Maximum.
Let's rewind. We need to actually refresh everyone on all of the mechanics. So this is a tutorial of how to play Sound Voltex.
At a 19
Oh, good.
level.
We could use one of those. Oh, never mind.
How to play 19s in Sound Voltex. So there's some really funny things in the beginning. They're fake lasers, or lasers that don't actually do anything. So you'll see them right here. They look like hold notes, but they're not hold notes. They just are straight lasers that you do nothing with, and they hit themselves automatically.
Yeah, when you layer the pink and the blue lasers on top of each other, they almost turn white and kind of look like hold notes. So you gotta pay attention, and you're not getting faked out. A lot of one-handed sections in this. Oh, and Maximus here to give us a lesson, so listen.
Listen. Go. Listen.
Here, and chat can feel free to help tell Ellie when he should listen and when he should go.
Love a little call and response.
Listen.
It's so funny to note that in different difficulties of this, these sound effects and stuff that are happening in the background are completely different because the charting is different. So it actually does correspond with what is actually going on in the go sections after the listens.
And yeah, something else that we are seeing here is that once we get up to the higher levels, we also get a lot of like unique stage
vibrating in the background too.
Yeah, so
that's the tutorial.
Yeah, tutorial was the final boss from the Omega Dimension 2 Chapter 2 section. So when you get these boss songs, you get like characters showing up in the background, sometimes doing wacky effects, like we're seeing with this one more set that's blocking view of the playfield. Ooh, and a nice 985 for that. I mean that's a PB by 20K for Ellie, so Ellie's like breaking all sorts of PBs this session. This is crazy. The marathon adrenaline, I think, really helped him out.
He's been hiding his true power level.
Okay, we're coming up on. Oh, this is a fun little 19. Ghost family living in graveyard. It's kind of a very harshly divided chart. Like it's kind of segregated into little sections. We're gonna start with a very heavy like knob section right at the start, where there's lots of what the game refers to as hand trip, where you have a right knob and your left hand has to move over to the right side as well to hit buttons on the right side, and then you fly both hands over to the other side and turn the left knob, then hit left side buttons. It's it's a real treat to watch. Coming up after this build up, we're gonna see that a little bit of that same side hand trip action here. And it's kind of hard to really like stress like how difficult it can be to like make your left hand go over to the right side of the controller and do it accurately. Like half the time I do it, I slam my fingers in place between the buttons.
Yeah,
crossovers coming up here.
Just talking about simple versions of that trick. Have you ever tried to grab something on the opposite side of your body with the wrong hand? Now imagine doing that like 8 times a second.
So with a very hard metal knob in your way that you can potentially jam your fingers into. All right, so this is the break section, which is, if you look at the movement, it's not a break. You are forced to do those crossovers every single instant. But now we're done.
And then, yeah, now we started to get into the button section, which is extremely chord heavy. You're gonna pretty much every time he's hitting a button, he's gonna be having to hit 2 of them at once. a little bit of one-handed action here with the knobs, and then we're gonna get straight into just the chord runs here.
These chord
Very
runs
hard
are-
to keep up. Yeah, I know Ellie is not consistent on getting the excessive clear, and if he's gonna drop it, it's probably gonna be in this segment.
We go back into
Alright.
some hand trips.
Which turning the knobs the correct way in this segment is really deceptively hard to do. More crossovers coming in.
And then ending with some chord runs again. Oh,
Percent? No, right at the end, losing the excessive gauge.
it's still a 980.
So close.
That's
Yeah, that's still a great
Fantastic.
score. and a PB.
Yeah. We
Amazing.
take those.
All right, we're moving on to another 19 where they've got Juno Shirin.
10 desires.
Translates roughly to like 10 trials.
10 trials,
or-
that's right. This is,
Yeah.
I think, my favorite song in the game, and maybe my favorite chart. I think.
Yeah, this chart's got a little bit of everything going on in it. There's gonna be some crossovers in there at the beginning. There's gonna be a lot of really tough speedy runs.
Funny lasers. There's some really long jacks, or not long jacks, but there are jacks. There's a very long, very fast trill as well near the end. I think this might just be one to enjoy if the host has any more things.
Yeah, I can pull myself away from being mesmerized for just a minute or two. We have had some very generous donations during this run from people who are enjoying, showing appreciation for everything that LA is doing. Digimoogle with $15 to Gate saying, I told Argy to donate $1 for each missed split during his speedruns this afternoon. It's only fair that I match that donation. Less than 3. He Who Am R is myself donates $50 and says, hello friends, I hope you're all having a great time right now. And also, just a few minutes ago, there was an anonymous $100 donation. Thank you so much to all of you, and also for making sure to donate to the poll, the bid war for the track choice in Spin Rhythm XD, and helping us get very close to the Pac-Land Pro showcase. We are at $299.99 out of our $350 goal. Keep it up, everyone. All right, thank you,
Mad
Scooty.
props
Back to you.
mad props for nailing He Who Am R is myself's name, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on the end of this, we're gonna see some real fast jacks coming up right here. There's a few ways to approach it. Yeah, we got Ellie going for the alternating. Yeah, I go for the one-handed alternating index and middle on that, but I use my left hand for it. And some really faster cases here.
A two-handed trill, I believe that's gonna happen.
Yeah, going for that. Yeah, that BC trill there is fast enough that it's questionably viable to just alternate your hands on it. Like, it just goes too fast. So, kind of a unique approach to that is to just have, like, curve your left hand around to the back, like, to the back of the buttons, and, like, alternate, just kind of, like, flammate, like, rolling your fingers across with your left and right hand. It's really tough to land.
You have your controller in front of you.
Yeah, I do. I was just kind of doing the motion myself, like, just automatically.
Here.
Alright, we've got Reviver coming up here. This one's just like kind of like Bayonx. It's mostly just fast, but as opposed to being really, really fast and having very basic patterns, this is really fast, just one really, but the patterns are a lot more complex. I know this is one of Ellie's favorite charts, so yeah, great showcase of just reading, you know, semi-complicated patterns at pretty high speed. Yeah, 238 BPM. You know, that's no slouch. That is, you know, the 16th runs are just a little shy of 16 notes a second. So, you know, a little quick, a little fast.
We do go a little fast around here.
I think the one thing about this chart is that because the patterns are just like that tiny bit more complex, there's a lot of kind of notes that where the patterns are wrapped themselves. I find the best way to kind of illustrate that, but It's like when a note has a repeat in the column, but it's like hidden in a pattern, like these FXR notes. Those are so easy to hit early and get those early errors, as we discussed a little bit earlier, and just completely destroy your chain. You'll see your life bar literally just go from 90 to like 10 in a second if you hit anything too early.
I did see a couple right as you were describing it. They're really sneaking in there in the laser patterns.
Especially the ending of this song.
Yeah, the end the end is extremely challenging. Like it goes between really fast button drills to really complicated and also fast laser patterns, and it's really hard to mentally shift gears at the speed that this chart asks you to do it.
Know what's going on. And the thing
Yeah,
like,
these lasers are so complex.
Brain.exe has stopped responding.
If you don't know this ending is coming up, you're just gone.
Yeah, you gotta turn your body to alternate your hands on the LR and BC.
And another 980, 983.
Like yeah, if you're not prepared for that and don't like turn your body to get those hands in position, like you're gonna have such a bad time.
Yeah, your life bar instantly hits 0, and you're like,
All right, we've got one more 19 for you before we hit the cap and go into the 20s folder. She and Sosin actually don't have the music pack on my Konaste that has this song, so I'm probably gonna just leave this one to Daiki because I don't know this chart well at all.
a lot slower than slower than Reviver. It just feels a lot slower because there's a lot less 16 patterning, and it concentrates a lot more on kind of more complex chords interwoven with these lasers. So there's, like you can already see this, there's a bunch of chord runs, but it's also non-standard because it's a double-sided same laser that you have to do in the middle of it. A bunch of back and forths with the lasers. A lot of stuff with docked lasers in the middle as well. So it's all, just so much to keep track of at the same time. And then these brutal one-handed patterns, which make your hands go completely across the controller. Playfield, mind you, and they are so hard to figure out like which direction you need to turn those knobs. Like normally you would just see the right knob coming from the right side and turning all the way to the left and vice versa, but like when it's on the side, like on one side, and you can't even figure out which direction one of the lasers is trying to slam to start out with, you could end up doing that whole entire pattern backwards and just
yeah,
pretty
it's
much
super easy
drop
to
it.
do the exact opposite of what that pattern is actually asking for and just miss everything.
A very consistent theme of congratulations, you did it exactly the wrong way.
Mission successfully failed.
Clever way of like obfuscating and making things just a little bit more challenging to parse, but also more satisfying to hit. In some songs, there's cases where it's like a really slow part. You can see the lasers coming from a mile, but they're like on top of each other, so you can't exactly tell which direction, and you turn the knobs and it's the wrong way.
Lots of constant one hands here. Nice finish. Another 984. Yeah, looking strong on the 19s, but we'll see how Ellie holds up when we hit the 20s. We're actually going to start with a really unique, not just 20, but very unique for the entire game style of chart. This is going to be... And yes, that is the full song name. It's a little bit of a word salad. We can thank Camellia for that. But yeah, could it be a spatiotemporal shockwave syndrome? Maximum 20 has a very unique trait that I think we've only seen one time in one other chart, where the notes will completely stop. And that other chart only does it one time. This chart's gonna do it everywhere. Oh, tutorial 2. Okay, yeah. Yeah, tutorial does it, and doppelganger. I think those are like, I think that's the extent of chart for stops.
These are much more... Notice the bright yellow versions, which actually play a sound alongside of them. It might be a percussion noise, it might be a guy going like, hey, yeah.
Well, and it's important to note here that the stops aren't the same length every time in this, so yeah, it's you do just kind of have to learn the song to some capacity here. But even when you know where all the stops are coming, it can be so mentally jarring. And we saw a little bit there, something you can do mid-song. You can actually press and hold the start button and turn one of the knobs to change the scroll speed a bit. So Ellie there, yeah, turns it down there because the song's tempo increases dramatically during that section, and if you read that full speed, it's going to be going way too fast to parse. And then once we're out of that speed up section, turning it back up so that the notes are spread out again. Still holding on to that excessive gauge, but it is looking a little low, and we're going to be hitting a pretty tricky section coming up here. We're going to have a few more tempo changes, then we're going to have a really, really dense, complicated hold section that, honestly, I don't know how to parse at all. Right here... All right, yeah, nailing that pretty well. But yeah, here comes the stop rush. We're gonna be stopping like every single one of those little nopers. Down to 2% gauge. Can he close it out on this last one? Oh, hitting an early error there on one of the chords. Yeah, again, like with those constant stops, it's really hard to maintain the level of control you need to avoid accidentally tapping buttons extra times and throwing some early errors. And finishing with a 966, honestly, for that song, the stops making it so hard to time accurately, that's a pretty good score. All right, and yeah, coming up on our last few songs here, I got another a more straightforward 20, and it just kind of shows like the raw speed that the game can expect from you once you hit the difficulty cap here. This intro, and it'll show up again in the outro too, is so fast. Like I can't even. And he chains it. Amazing. I are those 24th notes at 234? So like 16th note triplets for those who are more accustomed to music theory terminology as opposed to rhythm game.
So that's equivalent
where we
to
make stuff up.
It's equivalent to a 351 BPM 16th run.
Yeah,
so it's a little fast.
So fast, and yeah, we're gonna be seeing a lot of like this chart's got like a lot of overlapping chord drills where you'll see like you know, like alternating A, B, and B, C. It's really, really tough. Like, it's a technique that's so hard to get down to alternate those and make sure you're actually releasing the overlapping button between and not just keeping it held down the whole time. Very easy to make that mistake. I still make it all the time.
Here's the quote easy part, I guess. I mean, we're right before the 20s. There's no easy parts.
Before our boss cut in and our whole dense chorus here, we're gonna see some real chord patterns coming up here.
These chord runs.
Yeah, that ECR, ECL, AB pattern is so hard to parse. There's some of those overlapping chords I was talking about there.
Famous chord run at the end, or the laser run.
Oh yeah, the tower burger coming up here, where we're gonna see just, yeah, again, like pivoting your body so that you can put one hand in front of the other and just alternate a drill, like stacked on top of itself.
Yeah, we're not done.
Oh, and he's keeping the excessive alive. We might see an excessive clear on a 20. He's got, oh, that's so low. He's got to nail this end drill. Oh! Picking up one miss in that last run, but still hanging on.
Okay, that's a new extensive. % sure.
I don't think so. I think he's got that one already, but that, gosh, like, I think he's only gotten it once before, so to get it on live in a marathon showcase is nuts. All right, and so
yep, people were expecting it.
This is the newest 20. A lot of people are saying, why isn't the difficulty scale a 21? This should be a 21. there is a good chance that Ellie doesn't just drop the excessive, but he drops the effective clear and doesn't even clear this chart. This chart is so much harder than everything else in the game.
It's like, hey, it's only 236 BPM. That's like
That's slower than
BPM.
Bayonetta.
Yeah, it's slower than Bayonetta. But oh my gosh, the patterns are not only fast, but they're also complex enough that it's very hard to hit cleanly, if at all, just hit.
Yeah, it was a real experience. Like, you might have noticed, like, the big BPL sign in the background at the start, which stands for Bimani Pro League, which is the tournament series that introduced this chart to the game. And we, you know, if you were watching that live, you got to watch players attempt this in a tournament setting blind.
So I've never seen this before.
Yeah, which was quite the experience. And yeah, we're already about to lose the excessive gauge. Yep, there goes the excessive gauge. We're not even halfway through. So if Ellie's gonna clear this, he's got to build up that effective gauge to 70% and keep it there to the end of the song.
See a lot of how is this even possible? We're not at yet.
Oh yeah, no, it gets real nasty at the end.
They're so nasty.
Yeah, and the whole time Grace just looks at you really smugly in the background, getting destroyed.
Here comes the climax of this.
Yeah, the end gets real hard, and Ellie's is a little bit below the 70 mark. Gonna have some ground to make up in this final stretch, which is gonna be hard to do, but he can definitely pull it off. Yeah, those drills are so fast.
They're so fast.
Hovering just below the 70. Okay, broke the 70, just gotta hold it. Oh, just barely. Just not quite pulling through on that. Had it going into that last run, but that last run is so fast.
And it's still a 955, despite not being a pass. Unbelievable.
That's even a PB. And he has cleared this, but he PB'd without clearing it. Like, that's welcome to Sound Voltex. Enjoy your stay. But speaking of our stay, we are coming to the end here, and we are actually going to take a step down back to the 17s to wrap this up with Black Jackal. This is a song by Akira Complex. We wanted to have a song by them in the showcase because just last month we unfortunately lost them, and they were a wonderful presence in the rhythm game community, and we just wanted to have this song in there.
What a fitting end to the whole showcase. As a team that was created at a very similar event, Fast Paced is so happy to be able to do this full showcase, and I'm personally a little touched that this is the way the showcase is ending. So thank you to all three of you for everything.
And thanks for having us. And yeah, I just, something that I just kind of want to throw out there is, rhythm games in general they can feel like a very, very solitary experience. It's very you against the game. Just kind of, and it can feel a little isolated, but just remember that, there's always communities around. No one has to go through any of this, anything in spaces like this alone.
If there's anything else that you have?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to give people an opportunity to take a look at our upcoming runs and the bid wars and goals that we still have open. The Pac-Land Pro Showcase coming up in a few hours is looking for just about another $50 to be met. And then if you want to also put any donations in towards a bid war, Spin Rhythm XD has a 4-way color customization war between pansexual pride, trans rights, non-binary pride, and the rainbow pride flag. Those are in ascending order of donations at present, so Rainbow Pride is ahead at $225, non-binary just behind at $198, trans pride at $160.05, and pan pride at $20. So if you are able to, there we go, that's time. Thank you so much.
solid UC to finish off the set. You know, great job, Ellie. That was you played it out of your absolute mind. That's even a PB on that last song. What better note to end off on than another PB?
Amazing. Anything else that any of you would like to say? LA, Daiki, or Foodie?
Trans rights.
Hell yeah.
Trans rights.
Trans rights. Yeah, for sure. Happy to give him a moment. He has been through a lot. There we go. He's coming back in. He's doing the room skip thing, so we'll have him on mic in just a moment.
And yeah, just want to thank you guys again. Everyone in chat for showing up and bringing the hype. You know, being hype along with us as Ellie destroys this game, and you know, just for the whole marathon, everything, like all the staff, all the organizers, all the runners. It's you know, again, especially so fresh for us coming off of the tragedy of losing a Kira complex. It's really moving to see everyone coming together for something like this. And thank you all.
Yeah, for sure. I am back. I hope you all enjoyed the showcase, and I am very sweaty.
The rhythm game experience, it's always uncomfortably sweaty, and if you're playing arcade, you know, uncomfortably sweaty in public.
Yeah, you bring your towel, you bring your spray bottle, you bring your hydration. Speaking of which, don't forget to hydrate, chat. Now's a great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any shout-outs or anything else that you'd like to say? Like, you played just on another level today. Your commentators were as blown away as anybody in chat.
I'm glad. I'm really happy about how I did. I was worried because I didn't get a lot of sleep, but, you know, marathon nerves turn into marathon hype.
You found the zone, no doubt about it.
But yeah, just thanks a bunch to the FPE crew to accepting this showcase. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Sorry, I just one more thing. If this game seemed like fun to you guys, I would recommend checking out voltexes.com. There's a lot of good information about the community, about how to get started with the game. Yeah, so yeah, voltexes.com. That's voltexes.com. A lot of good information there.
Awesome. I went ahead and threw a link in the chat so people can check it out.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Since, you know, this was... I will probably do that myself as soon as I have the time to do so. Now, thank you so much to all of you. That was absolutely amazing. Truly on another level. And we're not done yet. This is not the only rhythm showcase for the day. So if you liked what you saw here, please stick around. There will be more. $20 donation as we transition back to getting ready for our next run from FSVGM 777s with, yeah, as I said, with $20. This Sound Voltex showcase was pure insanity. Holy wow. Anyways, hi, this is Stella from Luxembourg. Been enjoying the runs featured in this event for a great cause. Keep it up. Thank you so much for that, and thank you again to our amazing runner Ella and our commentators Daiki and Spoody.